In this week's video, I'm making a platinum ring. Now, I've made many platinum rings. Platinum is my favorite metal. If I had to relate it to a family member, we would be very closely related. Today's video, I'm going to be showing you what I've done with this particular ring. It was interesting. It was sort of familiar because I've made this sort of style before, but it was interesting because the customer had something very special that they wanted worked into the ring. The customer, in this case, is from New York. Steve, this video is for you, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to make something as special as this for you, to become part of your story. I'm Yaku. Behind the scenes of the filming and editing, you'll find Maya. Welcome to this week's video. We were going to incorporate two doves into this ring as well, and that's what I've done on the side profile of the ring. These claws are woven past each other. I don't know if you've seen us make one of these before, but if you haven't, I'll explain to you exactly how I went about doing that. It all starts with a design. If you're hearing click, 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 click in the background, it's because Ninja's around in the workshop today. Ninja's the Maya's dog, and she. When it came down to the design, I had to work in with the movement of the ring, how I saw the doves moving and working with the ring. I decided to go with an abstract flying motion of the doves, and I decided to bring them in as part of the structure that holds the diamond. There are certain things I'm not going to be able to change. I can't change the finger size. I can't change the size of the stone. These ones are definite things that already exist. Claw size is also a predetermined thickness because it has balance to what I'm trying to achieve. I started with the center part. The center part is always the most important part because everything else breaks down from there. So I'm creating the strips for the claws. Before I bend them, I want to get all of them absolutely straight and exactly the same length. The first movement I'm going to put on the wires is going to be the curve that I'm estimating that's going to need to hold the diamond. I strap it onto my honeycomb block, pin it down with some watch pins, use some binding wire, get them all strapped down so that I've got a permanent solution that I can make the most accurate markings to where these wires cross. I'm trying to carve away the area where it touches. I want the two wires to fit into each other. So if you've got the two wire thicknesses, I want them to come down into each other, not quite halfway on either side, otherwise you'll be on the flat side again, just a fraction. I still want the definition of those two wires passing each other, but I want them to be one. The structure is the important part. Why? Because it's a massive diamond in there, and the most important thing here is that we've got safety as well as those clean lines with regards to the making and the design of the ring. It needs to form a twist, a movement on the ring itself. That movement that it needs to form doesn't exist. I'm going to force it into it, but I want it to be a natural flow. I don't want it to be just a straight movement and then a sudden turn. I want it to be a general movement that develops into where the claw sits on its final destination. I'm first of all going to be soldering these two together, so all the way to the backs. The reason why I made these wires longer as well, it gives me the luxury now to bring them all the way down, bend them around the triplet, get them round into the size that I'm looking for. Not with the intention to have it as a ring, but to have it in a shape that supports what I'm going to be doing to it. Holding it over here, and you've got something that's not connected, you have movement. So when you're fighting something there, this movement's going to have some sort of an impact on your efforts. But by making it a solid ring, we now have one thing. So when I'm moving it, it's a set resistance that I'm working against. Once we've got that setting open, I can now bring in the little cone, the little resting place for the stone to lie on. As from my previous videos as well, we make these the same size as the stone. The purpose for that is for the stone to be lying on. I enjoy the stone to lie on something and then forcing it down on this little bed that we've created. The little section that I'm adding in also tells me that it gives me a reference of the stone. Now I can move over to the shank. The shank is going to be something that needs to work with the ring itself. It has to have flow. I've got a relatively high stone because of its size. I also have a reasonably open setting. I wanted to work with a thick enough shank so that we got something that works with the actual thick enough claws as well. Everything needs to match. So I created this ring, which we're going to have wings coming up from the side, meeting up to the top of the diamond, and then smoothly going around. Very classic, but again, slightly thicker, definitely a more modern design. Once I've got my general shape of my ring down, I can start shaping these little parts that come up to the top, in this case quite high because of the height of the stone. I'm shaping them from the inside with a file and breaking that down towards the bottom. So I'm preparing the insides of these rings, the part that will be touching the center part. From the inside, I'm creating a sort of a tapering going towards the inside. I wanted those wings to be something that sort of comes up to a point and then just presents this top setting. With the two rings, one of our previous videos which we made as a pair of rings, we did the structure completely different. This method of using it is a method that I'm using specifically because we're working with platinum. I just like seeing little lines and telltale signs to see how the ring is constructed. I'd like it to be a mystery for the customer, although in this case the customer will be watching the video and he's going to see exactly what I've done there. So I don't know if that's really appropriate. I'm also creating little steps towards the top where I'm going to be meeting that little section that holds the stone itself. And as you're bringing it up to the top, it opens up, opens, and then it clicks in. So now you're sitting with a situation where the ring almost holds itself, meaning that all the parts, wherever it's touching, are touching it as tightly as possible. The wings coming up to the top also serve the secondary purpose as a little step underneath the setting. It gives me more strength because I've got more areas it's going to take solder. It's not just a single solder here, it's a solder that runs there as well as there. Now it's time for bringing in those personal touches. I can take exactly the same diameter as what I've just worked with the previous setting, the exact same dimensions of the previous setting, and essentially just make another one. I'm going to remove the side areas completely and I'm going to bring in my two new areas. I'm fitting them to make sure that they're exactly what I'm looking for, because we can't have a disturbance on that circle. It has to do what it's supposed to do, which is being exactly the same size as the diamond. And once I know that that's exactly the size that I've got to work with, I'm going to shape these doves out. I'm going to extract those shapes out of this solid piece of material, so that when I bring it back in, I've worked with a piece of material that's already been checked, that already does exactly what I want it to do. That'll be the last thing that's going in. I'm starting to give it a rounded feel. Of course, I like giving them slightly rounded feels on the inside of the ring as well for comfort. It's a heavy ring, it's platinum, and I want it to feel soft. I'm also presetting the stone, the one that I've bought to fit the same size of the diamond. I've arranged a setter in New York to take care of this for me. I asked Mimo to send me a few photos back. Thanks for helping out that side in New York, man. I really appreciate your help. I got these images from Steve himself to explain that they've gotten engaged. I'm loving the career that I'm in. I'm loving the work that we do. It's got so much meaning. The next time Steve's in the UK, we are going to be hanging out, and I'm going to be, completing the circle and actually meeting him. But as far as his messages are concerned, he's very happy with the ring. Thanks so much for watching this episode. Hopefully there's something in this video that inspires you, or that's helped you, or technique wise you've seen. If you're a jeweler, if you're in this trade and you're in the workshop this time of the year, we're about a week away from Christmas. So if the energy is slightly different, please understand exactly what's going on. Thank you for watching the video. Thanks, Dee, for hanging around.
It's a pleasure.
It's been a good year.
It's been good. Lots of good things have happened, new things have happened.
Wow, this has been a very exciting year for us. It's
new things to come in the new year. We've got
always. Nothing stays the same. It's time for me to pack up and go home. Till next time, cheers, bye.